Well, joining me now is Harvey Proctor, former Conservative Member of Parliament. A very good morning to you.
Good morning to you and to your viewers.
Thank you so much for joining me. I wonder what your thoughts are this morning. I think we've spoken about this, and just looking at the timeline, obviously it's very complex, it's convoluted, it's still quite murky. I think what's come out of all of this is the governance of the BBC and what the BBC knew and when it knew it. Did it take it seriously enough? It gave one email, one phone call. It appears it didn't investigate properly, and Tim Davie very much on the back foot. In the middle of this, of course, is caught someone who is clearly troubled.
Well, to begin with, our thoughts must be for him and his health, and particularly for his wife and children who will have gone through and are going through hell. I know. Now, convoluted story, yes, but there's some clear aspects to it. The first is that the BBC must not act as though they are the police. They are not. And in terms of their morality, the BBC must not act as morality police either. I understand that the BBC have a dedicated unit within the BBC dedicated to investigating their staff for alleged criminality. That is absurd. That is Stasi BBC. The Director General, Tim Davie, should scrap that unit immediately. It is a gross invasion of the privacy of everyone who works at the BBC.
But
that's the first thing.
Can I just ask you on that? Because if there are serious complaints made, then surely they should be investigated. This is the national broadcaster. They need to find out whether these complaints are serious and whether they are upheld.
But not by a dedicated unit looking at criminality. If there's any sense of criminality, straight to the police. The BBC are not the police. They should not pretend to be the police. If you're talking in terms of employer-employee relations, that is something else. These people who have come out now, did they come out a week ago, a month ago? Employees of the BBC I'm talking about, or they just jumped on a bandwagon?
Well, it's a good point.
That is a matter for the BBC.
Absolutely.
This should not be being discussed on your programme or anybody else's programme.
Unfortunately,
it is an internal matter for the BBC, and it is one of privacy for all concerned.
Well, with the greatest of respect, it is of national public importance. We pay for the BBC, and there is clearly a lack of corporate governance. The fact is, the BBC, they complained to the BBC in May. They didn't seem to do very much about it, apart from email and one phone call, and they didn't even inform the presenter until the 7th of July. I mean, and Tim Davie even admitted he hadn't spoken to the presenter. This is a publicly funded organisation.
You have gone on to other matters which are not what I was talking about.
Sure.
You're talking about the general issue which alleged criminality. The Metropolitan Police have made quite clear no criminality is involved in this matter.
At this time, indeed they have.
For the evidence that they have. Don't hold out the hope almost in your voice that there might be criminality. At the moment, Huw Edwards is innocent until proven guilty, and the police have come out as far as they can, to say no criminality is involved as far as they can see. I am not hoping. If I may just, I need to clarify this. It's really important. I'm not hoping that there is more, but what I do want to see. The tone of your voice. I'm
afraid you've misread the tone of my voice. Let me just.
But the tone of the voice of media in this matter, who just want to go on to the next news bulletin, with something new to say.
Can I just, there's a really important point.
I have got some important things to say.
Sure, can I just make one point?
It's almost like a silver lining to this, if there can be a silver lining. And that is that Huw Edwards was falsely accused. Journalists, including in the BBC, were talking about getting him named by members of Parliament in Parliament.
They were.
He was innocent. He is innocent. Now, if all those journalists, their fellow BBC presenters, who were, for selfish reasons, concerned about themselves being falsely accused, now realise how important the issue of false accusations are, let them continue that in their presenting of other news stories to make sure that a lot of people, not with VIP status, not who work for the media, but generally who are falsely accused, sometimes falsely imprisoned because of false accusations. Let them delve into that.
Harvey, thank you. Those are salient and important points. I just want to re-emphasise, and this is the point I think is important to say. The Sun at no point, and this is what they have put out, the Sun at no point in the story alleged criminality, and they took the decision neither to name Mr Edwards nor the young person involved. And the suggestions of criminality, and I think you touched on this, actually were made at a later date by other media outlets, including the BBC. I mean, so I take all of those points on board. At the centre of this, and
I have not said anything about the Sun. I have not commented on the Sun.
No, indeed. I'm just clarifying.
Not commenting on the BBC.
Indeed.
Journalists working for the BBC and other media journalists who have just wanted this issue not to go away.
Can I just...
They've been scratching at this issue for days and days and days, hoping that the name of the innocent person, now known as Mr Edwards, will come out. Well, they've achieved their objective, but let's remember these were false allegations of criminality. Now the police have said no criminality involved.
Just in terms of what has happened, I'm very aware, as a doctor, the mental health implications, and clearly Huw Edwards is not in a good way, and you do not get hospitalised unless there is something very serious going on. To your point about other people coming forward, we have heard there has been a culture, possibly, allegedly, at the organisation that does not allow people to speak freely and openly, and that is possibly why people are coming forward. Just in terms of the way...
Well, they're coming forward now. Why didn't they come forward a week ago, a month ago, a year ago?
Maybe they were frightened.
Why didn't they were so concerned with an email or a telephone call or a message that they received? Go and speak to the person concerned. That is what ordinary people in ordinary life do. They're not so prissy as to wait for an opportunity for somebody being down to jump all over them. Quite wrong of these people to do that. Of course, the BBC have an employer-employee relationship in this matter. In any other organisation, the last thing that would be done by that organisation would be to go on the media, television, radio and the press and start commenting about what's happening internally in their organisation on an employer-employee relationship. That's quite wrong. The BBC should stop that. Tim Davies should get a grip of this matter and close it down for external affairs and just deal with it internally.
Harvey Proctor, thank you very much indeed. Harvey Proctor, former Conservative Member of Parliament.